To show with line program number 15. Alrighty, let me see here where we are. Alright, so this is part 8 of our MMO tutorial. Or not really tutorial, but live stream of creating the MMO. So let's see here. Alright, so I updated some things. We left off by understanding how the message types work. We're basically just sending strings across the network, which we will use for the chat system we're going to create. But what I've done is I kind of thought through more on the process of setting this up. And what I want to work on next is getting the login system to work from the client to the server. And basically, what I've gone ahead and done is created a message type class, which inherits from the Unity message type, and I've added my own custom short values that are going to be message IDs. And what that allows me to do is basically use message type dot, and I get all of Unity's access points as well as my own custom ones. So I don't have to have two unique ones. I don't have to have, for instance, I don't have to have MSG type for Unity stuff and message type dot for me. So I combined it into one by just inheriting from the base messaging. Alright, so hey, what's up, Mila? Thanks for joining. So how do you make a Bluetooth multiplayer game? The easiest way is there's an asset on the asset store by Prime31 that handles all of the Bluetooth technology, and you basically import that plugin and you create the game as normal. Gives you the effect. But honestly, today I would just make a multiplayer game and you could still play local. It doesn't have to be Bluetooth. Alright, let's see here. So we have connect on connected. Alright, so what I've done here is on the server, I created a chat message, which is going to be how we're going to do our chat message. And if we look at our chat message here, the class for the chat message is a chat message that inherits the message base. It has a target. So who do we want to send the message to? It could be the general, which is the world chat. It could be a private message, which means that the target is a username. It could be like a clan chat if we get into that, or a guild chat, so forth, and then the message content. What I've gone ahead and done next was I created the authentication process for a user. So what we're doing here is I'm authenticating a user received from the client. So authenticate user inherits from message base. We have a username and we have a password. And what I need to do is I now need to send this data received from the client, send it to the web server where we did all that MySQL PHP stuff, and verify if this username and password is in the database. Alright, so, and then I did some organization here. So on my network manager, we still have the network manager. With the network manager, the IP address and port, and then I've organized, we have our network manager, and then we have response types. So I have the message type, and then I have chat message authenticate user. So this is where I'm going to host all of our data packets. Do you have mobile game in Google Play or Apple's App Store? Not really finished games, but I have several games that I've worked on by other people that are on the store, dozens. Alright, so what we're going to do here is let's go ahead and hop over to our client, and what I've done here is I recreated our login system here. So I just created a canvas, login panel, background, tile, and the username input field and a submit button. And what I've done here is I have to keep the response type identical on the server and identical on the client. So basically I'm duplicating from one project this response type folder, and I'm bringing over all of this stuff. This matches exactly what's on the server. Alright, so I open up our client here, and what I'm doing here is when I hit this login button, when I press that login button, I call this function. I'm creating a new authenticate user with a username of whatever's in the input field and a password of whatever is in the password field, and then client is sending that to the server. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys this. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and log in here. Alright, so server on is true. Alright, I'm going to log in to the client. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and log in with logic and test. I hit submit, and you're going to see here on the server it says username received, logic, password received, test. Alright, so it's working. I successfully passed that data from client to server. What we need to do now is I actually need to do this. I need to run the www request to verify this user exists in the database and send back a response code to the client. So for instance, if the login was successful, send back to the client like a 0. If it was incorrect username or password, send back a 1, and then the client will update accordingly. So what I want to do now is, and also what I'd like to do is consider creating a separate login server to handle just logging in. So the way all this works is the client is constantly sending information to the server, and the server is constantly sending information back to the client when requested. Imagine you have 100 people online, right? They're all doing that simultaneously, as well as people logging into the server. So to deal with the bandwidth load, what if we could separate the login server to be separate? You know, have a server responsible for just logging in, and if the login was successful, it would route you to this server, which is the game server. Alright, so that's a little bit more complex and more of like a large scale type thing. Like if this was a commercially funded project, I may look into creating separate servers to host different things. Like I might have different servers per region of the game, which is how a lot of the big companies are, like World of Warcraft and stuff like that. They have dedicated servers for specific regions of the game, and as you're traveling, you are hopping servers. So ideally, that's the kind of system I would look into doing, and I think we should. But just to get up a quick prototype, I'm going to do it this way, and then maybe we'll go back and we'll set up and extract the login server and create its own login server. So let's go ahead and we need to run the www request to verify. So let's go ahead and get all of our login code and do this. So on authenticate user, we need to run the login process. So I need to go to our old project. I need to go into assets here. And I need, let's see here. So it's in this network manager. Alright, so let's see here. Data URL for login. Okay, I'll need this. Actually, you know what? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to create a static class that's going to handle the login. Let's do that. So I'm going to stop playing here. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, inside this networking, create a new C# script. We're going to do a login folder. I'm going to call this login. Let's see here. Yeah, we'll just call it or authenticate user. Although I don't think I can call it that. I called that response type that. So authenticate login or process login. Process login. Alright, so in here this is just going to be static methods, and what we're going to do is we are just going to pass it in data. So networking manager, save changes to the following items. Yeah. Right. Alright, so let's see here. Alright, and then I want to grab this. So we are going to have we need this line. Alright, so we have a public const, oops. Alright, we have a public const string, we have the data URL for login, and that's the gamedeveloperbootcamp.com/login.php, and that's going to send us back our response code. Alright, so we have this. Do we need anything? No, I don't think so. I think we can just use this. Alright, what else do we need to pull from here? I need the login username and password used, right? So we're going to pass those in from the server. Let me see here. Update. Nope. Open sign up, open login panel. Sign up complete. No. Login complete. Let's see here. Alright, here we go. Start coroutine process request. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and take this process request here, and we're going to kind of rip it apart. So let's go ahead and take that. I'm going to take this process request. We're going to put that over here. Yeah, hey Stakar, welcome dude. I see your comment. Alright, so here's what's gonna happen. What's gonna happen here is that we have these error messages, right? So 0 is sign up complete. This is just for logging in, so I don't care about that one anymore. So I'm actually gonna backtrack it. So I don't want sign up complete. I do want username already exists. No, that's part of sign up. Login success is going to be 0. Invalid user or pass will be 1, and server offline will be 2. Alright, so, and actually no, server offline will be -1. Alright, so -1 server offline, 0 login, 1 is invalid. Alright, and then what we're going to do is process this request. Let's see here. Sorry, Mela, dude. I'm just working on this right now, but if you want to make a comment or something like that in the Unity forums asking for help, if you send me a link to it, I'll check it out. Alright, give me 1 second, guys. So, let's see here. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and do our login success. These are the error codes we're going to send back to the client, and the client will know how to interpret these. Alright, so debug.log request.text. Alright, let's see here. Int request code. Alright, valid request. Alright, we're turning it into there. We're saying request code, if valid request equals false, then we're saying that request code is 4. And what that is oh, and actually I don't want to stop all coroutines. That will actually, I'm assuming that will make it to where it can't even get down here. So I don't necessarily want to do that. Alright, so if valid request is false, we're going to say request code 4, and request code 4 is server is offline. Alright, so I'm going to delete case 5, we don't need that. I'm going to delete, you have entered an invalid username or password. We need that one. We need login success. So we don't need these two. Alright, and server offline is going to be 4 because I think that's what is returned from the server. Let's see here. Actually, no, I do want that to be -1, and I'll update that on the server. Alright, so let's see here. So we have debug.log request, request code, valid request is false, request code is 4. Alright, so we're going to have case 0, which is login successful. We're going to have to send a message back to the client. Case 3, you've entered an invalid username or password. So that's going to be case 1. Alright, and then server offline. This will be send back a -1. Right? And we're just actually going to do case default. So if it's not 0 or 1, we're just going to say server offline, there's a problem. Alrighty. Hold on. There's like some tabs issues. Okay. And that is good. Alright, so here's what we need to do now. We're going to call this, so here, this is public static i.e. numerator process request. And when we process the request, we're going to pass in a username, a string, and that is it. Alright, this is just for the login system. So this is all the information I need. We'll go ahead and print out debug.log processing request with 0 and 1. Username, password, that's it. String format processing request, username, password. Alright, what we still need to do is we still need to create a form. We're going to say equals new form. The username and password is all we care about. I'm going to delete these forms. And I'm going to say request equals that with the new URL. Okay, so the URL is the data URL login. And we're going to pass in the form. And then we're going to receive that form back, and it's going to give us a response code of 0, 1, or -1. Alright, let's go ahead and go to the web server and make sure that that information is indeed correct. Okay, so we're going to go to gamedeveloperbootcamp.com. We're going to go to the cPanel. And let's see here. Alright, we're going to go to our files. I need to check to see what the error codes are. So game developer, here we go, login.php. I need to look at this, code editor. Alright, so if it's successful, it's going to return a 2. Else 3 equals username or pass is invalid. Okay, so I'm going to change these to be, if login success, it's going to be 0. Username or pass is invalid, it's now going to be a 1. Right, so we can catch them. Username or password is invalid. Let's see, if we make it this far, what does that mean? Create a variable on the query. Let's see here. Username received. Alright, so while there is a username, if the password matches, success. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. But if there is no username, we don't necessarily want to tell them that the username doesn't exist or anything like that, so we're just going to say username or password is invalid. So we're going to return a 1 here. Alright, we're going to save that. And then let's go ahead and let's go and hook this up now. Alright, so we're doing the request 0, 1, and -1 for the server as offline. These are codes that we need to now send back to the server. So once I get it, I have login success and so forth. So let's just make sure that this actually works. So we need to now call this process login. So here I have on-authenticate user request received. And what's going to happen here is I need to say login, process login, dot, whoops, sorry. Hold on. I'm going to say process login dot request. So here I'm going to have a public void request. I'm going to make this back to static. Actually, I'm just going to make this back to private, i.e. numerator. I'm going to make this static. So public static void request. And all I'm going to do in here is I'm going to start the coroutine. Oops. I'm going to say start. Oops. Hold on. And this doesn't mean to be a monobehavior class. It's not going to go on any object. I'm going to say here start coroutine. And we're going to pass in process request. And we're going to have some errors, and I'll figure that out in a minute. Alright, we're going to say request, and then we're going to take in a username, and a string password received from the client. Alright, we're going to say, here we're going to pass in process request, we're going to say username and password. Alright, let's go ahead and save this, see what errors I got. What it doesn't like. The name start coroutine does not exist in the current context. Why not? I'm using the Unity engine. System.collection, system.collections.generic. An object reference is required to access non-static memories. Let me see here. Oh, does it not like that this is like static or something? That can't be right. Hold on. Let's see, the name start coroutine doesn't exist in this context. Oh, is that a mono behavior thing? Ah, shoot. Alright, hold on. I want to have a static class that can run routines. Let's see, routines and static functions. Let's see here. It is indeed impossible. The workaround is to turn it into an instance method and just pipe the static call into your instance. For example, you have static coroutine, which is mono behavior, public static. That's a public static start coroutine instance. And then call it on an instance, yada yada. The coroutine that runs on our mono behavior instance. Okay. Now you can call a static coroutine that do make sure you drop the static coroutine on an object in your scene. Shoot. Damn, I did not want to do that. So this also would be a benefit of almost using a C# program to handle the user authentication and just send it to the client itself. Using TCP and UDP. Because I don't want to have a thing on here, but you know what? Let's go and do this. We're going to say process login, mono behavior. This should be okay. I'm going to have to turn that into a singleton, which I'm not super excited about. I'm going to go ahead and say here, process login will be on the network manager. And what we're going to do inside this process login now is I have this data URL, I have this public void request. I need to now turn this guy into a singleton. So we're going to say public static, private static process login instance, and we're going to say public static process login instance. Alright, and what we're going to do is we're going to get the instance, check if it's null. So if the instance is null, we need to create it. Alright, so if the instance is null, we need to say, I want to throw a new exception. Let me see, missing reference component exception. Alright, and what we're going to do next is, if it's not null, we're going to return the underscore instance. And to make it not null, that's when we come down to void awake. And when the server starts up on awake, we're going to go ahead and say underscore instance is equal to this login process. So we're only going to ever have one login process in the game. It's going to handle all the login. Alright, so now what I can do here is I have public void requests, and that can actually be, no, that can be public. Public void requests, it's going to start the coroutine process request. Now from here, what I need to do is I have to say run the www request. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and say login process dot request. Oh, sorry. Login process dot instance dot request. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass in the username received from the client. So check user. Alright, process login dot instance dot request. I'm going to say check user dot username, check user dot password. Now what I need to do is I need to know when it's finished, and I need to know what the result is to send it back to the client. And I want to do it in this code right? So how do I do this? I need to create what's called a callback system. So if you watch my video on delegates and events, you'll know what a callback system is. I'm going to go ahead and create sort of the same system to get notified when this process is over. Alright, so what I'm going to do here is I need to process. I'm trying to think how I want to do this because I'm going to request. I need to pass in to request a onComplete process. So here we're going to go ahead and say public void request. Let's go ahead and include using system in here. Let's see here. I need a action for onComplete for what happens. Let me see here. Process request. Okay, here we go. When we call in the request, here we're going to have an action. Right, of action for onComplete. Alright, so we have an onComplete that we are done with this request. And what I'm going to do here is I need to pass in that action to the routine as well. Action onComplete. And I'm going to set it to null by default. And as well here to safety check. It's a null here. Unless I pass in an action. So we have onComplete callback. And then here's what's going to happen. We're going to say switch. We're going to do all this good stuff. And we're going to say here, we're passing back an int value, right? So the request code is in here. And what I can do actually is, I don't need to determine this. This is just for the server's logic. This code here is going to be identical on the client. This is what's going to determine what to do. I'm just doing it here for logging purposes, which we'll have to get rid of later on to increase performance. What I'm going to do here is the request code is in here. So I'm just going to get that request code and send it back. Alright, so I have the request code, and what I'm going to do here is I need an integer to be received. So I'm going to go ahead and say, let me see here. I want to onComplete pass in an int and get something back. May need to do a func. Let's see here. Alright, so I pass in the onComplete event to the request, and when it's finished, so once we get to here, right, it's done. I need to go ahead and check if our onComplete event is null. So if onComplete not equal null, meaning that there is a callback delegate in there, if onComplete not equals null, then I want to call onComplete. And when I call that, this code will run, whatever my callback system is. So here, I can go ahead and say now, you could say, and look, it's looking for an action. So what I can do is I can go ahead and create an action with no parameters, and I can go ahead and say debug.log action completed. Alright, and if I run this, what's going to happen, it's going to check the user. When it finished, it's going to say debug.log action completed. Now, what I want it to do is I need to pass back that result code. Alright, so I'm looking for a number then. So what I need to do here is change up my action a bit. My action for the process login is going to be looking for a parameter, I believe of int. That's what I can do. Yes. Alright, we're going to say action, and we're going to pass in an int for this onComplete. Alright, so onComplete equals null. We're passing in a parameter with an int, and what I'm doing here, or I'm sorry, I'm doing a callback that's expecting an int. Hey, how's it going, Alaman? Alright, so here we go. So action of type int, pass through, onComplete equals null, action int, onComplete equals null. And then down here, I need to pass in the int. So it's going to say onComplete, and it's looking for an int that I'm going to receive back. And that int is the request code. Alright, so when onComplete is called, it's going to give me this request code. So I'm going to go over to here, I'm going to say debug.log. I am going to have a parameter now, so I'm going to say, we'll call it request code, RQ. And then here, action completed with, we're going to say request code, and then plus RQ. Alright, and this will go ahead and give me the request code returned from the login client. Alright, so this line of code looks a little messy, so I can actually clean it up a bit. The way I can do that is I can go ahead and actually add some brackets in here, just like this, and I can put this inside of here. Alright, and what this is, guys, is this is called an action delegate. It's almost the same thing as an action event. And can you explain what action in enumerator do in practice? Enumerator, all these three different. Okay, yeah. So I will go ahead and explain what I just did here. So check this out. So in my latest advanced video, I created a video on delegates and events. The quicker, more efficient method of delegates and events are called action and func. Actions are the equivalent of delegates and events that you can pass parameters into. Funcs are the equivalent of delegates and events that return information. Like if I want to process a request that returns a bool, I would use a func. If I want to process an event that's like a void, so like we did delegate event void, that's an action. If I'm doing delegate event bool or delegate event game object that's going to return a game object, I have to use a func. And those are basically just more efficient, quicker ways. And I will be doing advanced videos on the process of action and func. And then what I've also done here is this is called a lambda. So what I've done is when I say check user password and then comma, when I'm passing in that action here, I'm going to go and rewrite this. So check this out. It's asking for an action on complete. An action is just a delegate, and basically the on complete is it's basically I can run some code and process the action. And what I'm going to do here is the action I'm receiving has an argument. So I put my arguments in here like this. This is called a lambda expression, and I'll be covering lambdas as well in a coming video. Lambda's expression have a variable. This could be named anything, but it's going to hold my request code, right? So I'm going to say RQ for request code. It can be named anything, and then I'm going to say a lambda, and the lambda expression is the go-to statement. This expression here, it specifies I'm using a lambda, and the way you read it is you're saying parameter RQ goes to, and then I can run any sort of code I want to within here. So I can go ahead and say here debug.log. We're going to say login request completed with request code RQ. Now check this out. How does that work? If I go to process login, I'm saying on complete, I'm calling the on complete action request code. Okay? And that request code is this value here, whatever it is. It's going to be 0, 1, or 0, 1, or 4. And I'm passing it into this on complete. And when that gets called, that on complete passed in, it gets put into this parameter. So what's happening now is when this processes, going to say process login.instance.request check user, and then it's going to say once the login code has reached that point, login request completed with the request code. And this code is what I'm going to be sending back to. I'm going to send this to what's it called? The client. Element, dude, if you have blur or anything like that, go in full screen. You guys should be on 720p. I'm streaming it so that it's 720 for the quality, so make sure you're on 720. Alright, so those are lambdas, super advanced, really awesome topics, and I also covered actions right there. So I will be having separate videos that cover the logic and practical exercises for this. The most common for them is callback systems. All right, super useful. I want to know when this event stuff has finished, so I'm just going to get a function that's going to get called to me. I'm basically passing a function in to this coroutine, and when that function gets called, it's going to call this line of code, debug.log. Alright, so now that I have the login request completed with that queue, that request code, I need to now send it to the client. So what I'm going to do here is I have an authentication response. Alright, so here we have authenticate user. And what I'm going to do here is I need to say, we need to update this authenticate user. So let me see here. When I pass back the authenticate user, I need to pass back the request code. So I'm going to say here, public int request ID. Alright, so public int request code. Alright, so we have a request code, and I'm going to set it to equals to -1 by default. Alright, so public int request code equals -1. By default. And actually, no, I don't necessarily need to do that because I am going to set it always hard-coded. Let me see here. So public string username, public string password. The request code is going to be nothing. What I need to do now is in the network manager to send this back to the client, I will be doing this. We're going to say login request completed with the request code. I need to say authenticate. Let me see here. I don't know if I can use this check user. I think this might already be destroyed because this is a callback process. So I don't know if this is still in memory. So what I'll need to do is I will need to, let's see here. Actually, I should still have it in process. Hey, what's up? So I should still have it in process. Hey, Vane. Dennis, what's up, dude? Yeah, I'll make a video separate on delegates, on the action events and lambdas, and then yeah, Vane, we're doing all the networking stuff. I think I do have access to that, so I'm gonna go ahead here. I'm gonna say check user. I'm gonna say check user dot response code equals the code received from the result. So that coroutine in the login class. I'm going to see if that's enough, and what I can do now is I can go ahead and say network server. We're going to say here network server dot send to client, and the client I want to send it to is the one who's doing the message request. So netmessage.connection.connection ID, and the message type is going to be authenticate user. So message type dot authenticate user. And then here we have the message base. So the message base is the check user. Alright, so let's see here. That's going to send all the information to the client, and the client will now be able to read and interpret this message. Let me make sure here we're good. Okay. Alright, so let's head on over to the client. The first thing I need to do is the client needs to match this response type of authenticate user. So I'm just going to copy this line. We're going to head over to our client. Alright, I'm going to go into the authenticate user. The authenticate user has a response code, request code, and in the client here, I am listening for authenticate user callback. So on authenticate user response from server. So when I send that to the client, I'm going to intercept that message right here. So load the game scene if the response is success. So what we want to do here is I need to get the network user. So I'm going to say authenticate user. It's a user. We're going to say user info received. Or here, authenticate user. We're going to call it. We'll just call it user. All right. Equals. Net message dot reader, read message, and we're going to pass in the authenticate user packet that we populated on the server, and that's it. So now we should have access to the user dot password, username, and the request code. What I want to do is verify that we still have all the information about the username and password so that we received the proper character. And I'm going to say here, let's see, received from server, we're going to say username, we're going to say 0, pass will be 1, and we're going to go ahead and say request code. Alright, we're going to say request code, and that's going to be 3. Alright, we're going to put that in a string format. So what we have here is we have the string format, and then here we're going to say user.username, user.password, and user.request code. Alright, and all of this is going into a debug.log. So here we're going to have string.format. Okay, should be good. Alright, so let's go ahead and save this and we can test this out. Alright, so we're going to run the server. Okay, now my turn to ask how to make my custom collider that follows my enemy. My enemy movement. Look into nav mesh agents. Dennis, I should name variables like that. Yeah. When you're programming complex algorithms, stuff like that, naming conventions are the most important thing, because I need to make sure that if I drop this project for a month and come back to it, I need to know exactly like what the hell is going on. All right, so the server is on. Let's go ahead and connect. Maybe. Okay, like 30 minutes. All right, so as you can see here, we have connected to the client, the server. So it says connect to the server, reply from server, hello client, I received your text. All right, so we are on the server. Now let's go ahead and log in with logic. I'm going to say username. All right, I'm sorry, not username. Password is the password for logic or test. All right, I'm going to log in, hit submit. You'll see here, check this out. Okay, so good news and bad news. Bad news, or good news first, check this out. Username received is logic, password received is test, processing request with logic and test. It returned a 0, and then here it said login successful. So that is good. Login was successful because it did a match and it got a 0 back. So login request.text was 0. And then on complete request code, login success. Now my callback did not get called for the action on complete. Okay, and the reason why it didn't get called, check this out. I never started the process with the callback received. So here I need to say password, and then we're going to say on complete, because I did pass in an on complete handler. Alright, so let's go ahead and rerun this. I'm going to go ahead and just disconnect from the client here. Do this again. Alright, start the server up, start the client. Alright, server is connected, the client is connected. And what we're going to do is we're going to log in, logic and test. And we're going to hit submit and check it out. Alright, this worked. Check it out. So it did the login success. Login request completed with response code 0. That is good. You have the formatting using, okay, yeah, thank you. So yes, we did get an error. So the login on the server, everything worked perfectly. Everything I assume worked perfectly on the client, but as Dennis pointed out, I accidentally did the formatter incorrectly. So let's go ahead and fix that real quickly, because it tried to format my string incorrectly. 0, 1, and 3. It needs to be 0, 1, and 2. Thank you. Okay, let's go ahead and run this again, and we should have a proper login authentication. Alright, so the server can stay running. Ah, crap. I didn't mean to turn it off. Hold on. Where's the client? Alright, so let's go ahead and start the client. Alright, let's log in, logic, and test. Alright, and as you can see, login request completed with 0 on the server, and then here we go. Received from server, username, logic, pass, test, request code 0. So that means that I can now actually log in. Alright, we have permission from the server to log in. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and create a new scene. Alright, a new scene here, and this will be our, oops. So this is going to be our game. Put that in the scenes. Alright, so we have a game scene. Alright, yeah, game scene should be good. Alright, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to say build settings, and I am going to add the open scene. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to go back to our client here, and when we receive that information, what we need to do is we need to switch through the error codes. Alright, so we're going to say here, I think, what was the error code for server offline or something like that? I think it was 1. Let's see here. Yeah, 0 and 1. Okay, good deal. Alright, so for now, check this out. We're going to go into our client, and we're going to switch through the user.request code. If it's a 0, right? If it's a 0, login success. right? If it's a 0, login success. If it's a 1, then it is an invalid user. Invalid request for a user pass. Alright, so what we want to do now is we want to go ahead up here, we want to say using Unity Engine .scene management. Okay, and if the login was successful from the server, if the server says, hey, you can log in, it means they sent us a 0, and we're going to go ahead and say scene manager .load scene, and we're going to call game. Easy enough, right? And if you didn't, we're going to say debug.log. Sorry, you entered an incorrect username password. Alright, let's run this, test it out. Alright, so if I disconnect from the client, by the way, and I keep the server running, that's perfectly fine because the server knows that the client dropped connection. So I'm going to log back in here. Alright, and you'll see here, the server acknowledges that the client should have connected, I believe. And actually, I don't know if it did. We may have to look in, we'll have to look into that. Let's see what happens. Let's see if it receives any requests. Oh, well, hold on. I'm in the wrong scene, that's why. Alright, here we go. Main menu scene. We're going to go ahead and run it, and you'll see here that a connection was received, I believe. Oh, we're about to find out. Alright, so I'm going to log in here with logic. And test. Okay, hold on. It said client dropped connection, and it just returned to me that I'm dropped from server, so this might not work. When not connected to a server. Okay, so I'm not connected to a server, so we actually need to fix that. I think what happened here was, even though I disconnected from the server and it knows it, I might still be in the server. But basically it thinks I'm still logged in. So I will need to look at that next. Let's go ahead and run this, or maybe that wasn't even running, I don't know. Let's go ahead and just try that again. So here I'm going to log in with logic. Alright, we have here logic, and then we have test. Alright, so as you can see here, login request completed with 0, and it did take me to the game scene. Check it out, received from server username logic, pass test request code 0. I am now in the game scene, we are set. Let's go ahead and test it again. I'm going to log out here. Alright, the server says client dropped connection. I'm going to log back in. Alright, message. Alright, good. So that did work. So we are now connected to the server again. Let's go ahead and say logic, and let's go ahead and just do T. And you'll see here, login request completed with 1. Sorry, you entered an incorrect username and password. And there we go. Now, all of the logic for logging into our game world is handled by the server, which is very secure, whereas before everything was hosted on the same package, very prone to cheating. And now you can only log in, and you can only get access to the game world through the server, which is authoritative and ran on my private servers. So our login and server is separated and completed. What I want to do is check. Let me see here. No. Oh, Mike has it. Yeah, he hasn't sent it over yet. Okay. Alright, so let me see here. Alright, so let's see. Our login system is separated completely out, and we're done there. Okay. The next thing I want to do is when you guys log in, I don't want to be able to see your passwords. We want that to be as secure as ever, because if you do have a sniffer, you might be able to sniff out the username and password sent. So we're actually going to create an encryption to send that data over the network, as well as keep it encrypted on Decrypt, which is what we're using on the web server. Let's see here. Dennis asks, do you know how to make a game IO player movement style? That the front of player look at mouse, and when click W, then player go in direction of mouse. Yeah. So basically, yeah. So I'm debating on turning this into a 3D MMO, and if we do go that route, we'll be creating an MMO character controller that does exactly that type of stuff. But basically, it has to do with calculating the angle using quaternions that you have to rotate. So you can, there are tutorials online, just look up like MMO controller and they'll cover how to do that. But I think we might go the 3D route if I want to at the end of all the networking stuff. We'll see. Maybe I'll do a community vote. Alright, so let's go ahead and encrypt this. So I don't know how to encrypt using .NET. I know there is an encryption thing. So here we have a system.encryption, collections.encryption. I can't read, but what's up?
Your mom is emailing or texting them, what time do you want to meet for dinner on Monday? And that's something going to the ponds. I have a massage at 6 and need to know if I should cancel it. I literally was not in this conversation at all.
We're not going to do dinner Monday. Alright, so just text me. You can text me. It's cool. She must be thinking like next Monday because you wanted to go to the beer garden.
But I haven't talked to them at all.
Okay, so alright, so go to yoga. Let me see here. Or I'll call her later in the day, it doesn't matter. Let's see. Alright, so we need to look up how to do encryption. So, let's see here. C# encryption that's built in. Alright, here we go. Encrypt and decrypt a string is what we want to do. Encrypting data. So encrypting and decrypt a string. Hold on, here we go, I want this one. Let's see here. String, read-only, password hash, and your salt key and the VI key. Okay, for encrypt. Alright, so to encrypt things, right, you have these things called hashes, and then you have salt for extra security. So we're going to go ahead and do one of these, or maybe both. Let's go and look at this example here. I'm probably honestly going to take a lot of this. So public static string to encrypt, it's going to take a string, which is our password. We're going to turn it into bytes. And then here, we're going to take those bytes and we're going to encrypt it with a password hash with a salt key. And that looks like it's a 256 divided by 8-bit encryption. And then you have a symmetric key. The mode is cipher mode, CBC, padding with padding modes. It looks like this dude is doing super insane encryption, which is also good. Then here's the encryptor, symmetric key encryptor, and then ciphertext bytes. Alright, and then here the memory stream is now writing all of that good stuff. Alright, so that's encrypted, and then to read that decrypted messages, you have to do the same stuff, and I believe you have to use like the same symmetric key. Here's an encryption using popular RSA algorithm. Alright, so RSA is also super insecure. It's basically a master key system. I don't believe it's been encrypted. I think it takes like, I've read something that it would take like 31 million years or something to encrypt an RSA key. We may want to do that. RSA encryption. Let me see here. Yeah, so because I don't understand enough of encryption, we're going to go ahead and steal someone's encryption class because I don't want to have to go through the logic of everything that's involved. I just want it to be secure. Let me see here. So let's look at RSA encryption, C#. Alright, walk through. Creating a cryptographic application, RSA crypto service provider class. Here, let's see. Service provider class walkthrough. Alright, we'll look at that walkthrough in a second too. Let's see here. Try. Alright, create a Unicode encoder to convert between byte array and string. Create byte arrays to hold original encrypted and decrypted data. Data to encrypt. Byte converter, get bytes. Create new instance of RSA encryption service. So using the RSA encryption, we're going to pass data to encrypt. So encrypt data equals that. Data to encrypt, which would be our password. Data to encrypt. I don't see where he's actually using that. Oh, here it is. Data to encrypt dot byte converter dot get bytes, and this would be the password. and then encrypt here. The following code example projects exports the key information created. Okay, let's look at the walkthrough. Alright, so the walkthrough demonstrates how to encrypt and decrypt content. Good. The code examples are designed for a Windows Forms application. This application does not demonstrate real-world scenarios, such as using smart cards. Instead, it demonstrates the fundamentals of encryption and decryption. Using the Rinjdal managed class, a symmetric algorithm to encrypt and decrypt data by using its automatically generated key in 4. Good deal. Let's see. Use the RSA as an asymmetric algorithm to encrypt and decrypt the key to the data encrypted by. Okay, cool. Alright, so let's see here. Declaring global objects, creating yada yada, prerequisites, yada yada, creating Windows form, don't care. Alright, here we go. So, encrypt folder, decrypt folder, source folder, yada yada, public key file. Creating an asymmetric key. This task creates an asymmetric key that encrypts and decrypts that key. This key was used to encrypt the content. Okay, so stores a key pair in the key container. So RSA equals new RSA provider. Look, only encrypting a file. Creates a symmetric algorithm. Wow, this is way more work than I wanted it to be. Add the following encrypt file method to the form. Alright, this is what actually handles the encryption for the file outstream and so forth. That's what's like encrypting the bytes. Alright, yeah, we definitely don't need that advanced. So over the server, I'm just going to go ahead and, for now, we're going to do a C# Md5 encryption. Because that is ridiculous. This should be much simpler. Yeah, okay. Alright, so here we go. So we are going to say I need the security.cryptography. So on the client, we're going to go ahead and say using system.cryptography or system.security.cryptography. Cryptography. It's pronounced cryptography. Let me see here. Okay, so the way we use this is we have a string source, which is our password, right? So give me a second. I'm gonna, if you guys want to read along with this, just go to the just look up MD5 salt C# and you'll find this page. I'm gonna put it on my other monitor so I can read from it. So things that we need for this in order to do this is when we log in, when we send the login stuff, right? When I send it, I want to make sure that the user I'm sending the information is secure, right? So here, we're going to secure it here. So Md5 encryption. Md5 salt. Alright, let's see here. I'm not going to do this through a constructor anymore. Actually, not AM, actually. We'll keep it like that. Alright, so here we go. So we're going to have here string. We're going to say string password. Let's see, encryption. Okay, here we go. Password encrypt. Alright, password encryption equals the user.password. Alright, so that's going to be our source, and then here we're going to say using the Md5 hash. Alright, using statements are basically like functions that get deleted in memory as soon as they're done processing. So here we're going to have Md5, and we're going to say hash, Md5 hash. So using the Md5 hash equals Md5, we're going to create a new hash. Alright, so while that's running, what we're going to do here is we're going to say string hash equals the get Md5. Is that a thing in C# or I need to do that? Convert the input string to a byte array. Hold on, I'm reading how the get Md5 hash works. Convert the input string to a byte array and compute the hash. Create a new string builder to collect the bytes. Loop through each byte of the hash data and format each one as a hexadecimal. return the hexadecimal, and then verify a hash against a string. This code example produces the following input: the MD5 hash of a hello world, verifying the hashes are the same. Okay, very cool. So here's what we need to do. I need the static string get MD5 hash code. So I'm going to take that, and we are going to put that right over here. And I am going to break this out from the client. I know it's getting too cluttered. I don't want it in here. Alright, so we have string compare. This type or namespace string compare cannot be found. Are you missing a reference? That's broken. String compare, what does that use? I believe that uses system.text. Let's see. I think that's how we do string compares. Yeah. No, maybe not. String compare. What the hell is string compare? Where are we using that? String compare. Create a string compare and compare the hashes. String compare equals string compare dot ordinal ignore case. Okay, verify. Oh, I added that verify. Okay, hold on. Let me get rid of this verify one for now. I don't need that yet. Alright, so here we go. Get MD5 hash is good. And what we're going to do here is we say the hash equals get MD5 hash. Right, so here with a hash equals the get MD5 hash, and we're going to pass in the MD5 that we're using, so MD5 hash, as well as the string input, which is the password encryption. Alright, that's the hash that we're going to create. Next, we need to go ahead and say, we need to verify the hash. So let's go ahead and add that verify method back in here. So here is our get MD5 hash. And then let's go ahead and verify the hash. So public static will verify MD5 hash. I need to find out why the string compare, so I'm going to look this up. String compare. Here you go. So string compare, let's see. Oops. String compare. That's a class. Let me see what namespace that uses. Oh, system.object and namespace system. Okay, I thought I am doing system already. So let me see here. Am I not doing system? I am not doing system. Alright, using system. I don't think I need this text anymore then. Alright, there we go. That should fix the string builder. Oh, okay, hold on. Now something else broke. Oh, string builder uses text. Alright, I'll keep it. Using system.text. Okay, now we're good. Alright, so here we go. So we need to pull this back up. Alright, so what I'm doing afterwards, now we need to verify the hash. So here we're saying if the verified hash, string hash, if statement for verifying it. So if verify MD5 hash, if verify MD5 hash, pass in the MD5 hash we're using, and then also our source. So we're going to say password encryption. And then we also need to pass in our hash, which is what we created above. And what we're going to do here is we're just going to debug.log hashes are the same, else debug.log hashes are different, and that's bad. Excuse me. Alright, so let's see here. Hashes are the same, else hashes are different. Okay. So let's see now. Alright, so what this is going to do, the following code example computes the MD5 hash value of a string and returns the hash as a 32-character hexadecimal formatted string. The hash string created by this code example is compatible with any MD5 hash function on any platform. Okay, so we just created an MD5 hash. What I want to do now is I want to send that MD5 hash. I'm sending the MD5 hash over the network. So here we're saying using that yada yada, and hashes are the same. If the hashes are the same, then I'm going to send the client message. So here we're going to say sending client.send message type authenticate user with the user, and the user will now have a authenticated string. So let's go ahead and run this and verify. So if I open up the server, run the server. If I open up the client, we have some errors on the client. Let me fix these. Oh, just kidding, no errors. Alright, so I'm going to log in. We're connected to the server. I'm going to say logic, and I'm going to say pass, or I'm sorry, I'm going to say test. Now, it's not going to work on the server because it's not in the proper format for the web server to read, so we have to decrypt it and send it. Oh, and you know what? I take that back. Apparently, okay, hold on. I sent the wrong request. What the hell did I send? That should not have worked. Oh, here. I don't want to send in, I need to update the user pass now. So here, hashes are the same. I need to go ahead and say user.pass equals the password encryption. Alright, and what we're going to do is we're going to decrypt it on the server side and assign it and send that to the web server, which will be re-encrypted and resent back to us. Alright, so client.send message send type. Let's go ahead and run this. Okay, so I connect to the client. Alright, oops, sorry, server's on. Let's see here, server's on. Alum, can I use this for a MOBA style game? Yeah, you totally could. The same networking applies to any network game. Okay, so check this out. So let's go ahead and log in here. Alright, we're going to connect to the server. Alright, we're connected. Let's go ahead and log in with logic and password test, and it should print out on the server the Md5 hash. And it did not. So password received was test. Let me see. Hashes are the same. So it did update the user.password equals this password encryption. Let's go ahead and print out what this encrypted password is. So maybe it's not actually doing it. So plus, we're going to go plus encrypted password. Password encryption. Alright, let's go ahead and log in again. I can keep the server running. Log in with the client. Okay, let's go to logic and test. Okay, so let me see here. Hashes are the same. Yes. Wait a minute, what? That can't be right. It looks like it just like scrambled the letters. That's not what Md5 does. Weird. Why did it do that? Alright, hold on. I gotta look at the Md5 class. It looks like it just basically... Did it spell it backwards? Is that what that did? It basically just scrambled the letters and replaced the T with a Y. Let me see here. String source. Alright, so that's the source is our password, the hash. It's using the Md5 hash on this on the password, verifying the hash, get Md5 hash. Where do I use that? Yeah, equals hash equals get the Md5 hash. It builds a new string, and it's verifying. Hold on, it returns a string builder. So when we do get Md5 hash, let me string what this hash code is. That's what I think maybe is what needs to be sent to the server. So let's open this up. Hashes are the same. Let's go ahead and do hash. This should be like a 32 character password. Alright, let's go ahead and run the server. I need to stop turning off the server. I don't need to turn it off. Alright, let's run the hash. Would you recommend using mathf.pingpong for an enemy that bounces between 2 points on an axis? Yeah, you can use that. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with mathf.pingpong. Oh, maybe I did type yes instead of test, but I don't think so. But we'll say it's a test. Okay, there we go. Check it out. So the server received test. However, our client hashed it. So a hash for test is this 32 alphanumeric character right here. All right, so that's good. So that's working. So I need to actually send that. So I need to go ahead and say. That hashes are the same. That's our hash. Our user password is our hash, and we need to now take that hash on the server and decrypt it. All right, so let's go ahead and run this. Server is on. Go ahead and log in here at the client. All right, logic and test. All right, hashes are the same. We got that, and if we look, the request on the server received this hash, and it returned login invalid. The reason why that is because my password isn't this on the server. So what we need to do now is the server needs to unhash it and send that to the website. All right, so we need to unhash it and send it to the website. So in order to do that, let's go ahead and let's look at how we decrypt an MD5, because it doesn't actually say how to do that in here. I mean, I imagine it's the reverse, but convert the input string to the byte. Let me see. Unhash MD5 C#. Yeah, I want to keep this page actually. Unhash MD5 in C#. Another way I could actually do this is I could pass the original password that you sent to the server with the hash, and I could verify that the hash is still the same. If the hash is the same, by running the same logic to hash your original one, then I believe that would work. But I think that's not the best. Here we go. Encrypt data with C#. Let's see what they're using. Are they using MD5? All right, here we go. If use hashing. I don't want to do that. How to convert MD5 hash to string. Alright, here we go. Let's see what they're doing. Input bytes equals get bytes the word, the hash, compute hash, string builder. The whole point of hash function is that they are a one-way hash function. Once you run a string through a hash function, it is theoretically impossible to get back to the original string. Okay, so how can I do this then? So let me see here. Let's see. Login system Md5 encryption. Because what I've just done is made it to where I will never be able to unencrypt that. Alright, here we go. Using Md5 on login page. Alright, so it takes the username and password. It selects the username where username is password. It runs this query. MySQL fetch row active and the number look at result match. So if count session register my username. Error username and password is invalid. Alright, well that is very useful. Connect.php. Where is that connect.php? He didn't share it. Let me see. Logins page with Md5 encryption and password field. This code will teach you how to create a login form with Md5 encryption. The feature of this code is that you have an input validation. The passwords are being encrypted using Md5. Download and try this code and learn how to create a login form. Yada yada. I want some web-based. Shoot! I wonder if I just if I just screwed the login server with that. I wanted it to be secure over the web, but now I have no way to unsecure it. I know, super awkward. Let me see here. Compare. Shoot. Hold on. Let me see. Because if I'm gonna do that, I need to do decrypt server. Let me see if I can do bcrypt.net. Shit. Let's see, I passed the data securely over the network. Curious to see something. Is the result string always the same? Let me see. Okay, hold on. Hashes are the same. Hashes are the same. 098F6BCD. And then let's go ahead and run it again. Okay, hold on. Are these identical strings? Okay, so your MD5 hash never changes. So you know what I can do is I will send your password over the network in an MD5 hash, and I will send that MD5 hash to bcrypt, which will then encrypt it even more. And then I'm hoping that it will work. That way, literally, there's never a chance that anyone could ever know your password. Like, even if I wanted to know it, I wouldn't be able to even get it, which is way more secure. So let's go ahead and actually try this. So I need to create a way to log in with that Md5 encryption. So I need to open up the other projects real quickly so I can log in with an encryption like that. Let me see here. Because if I send in the password as this 32 encryption thing, it should work. So I'm going to take this password here. Now let's open up the working copy. And then I'm going to clean up the code so that it's not all disgusting inside this client class. Alright, so when I log in here, when I sign up for an account, I need my username and password. I need my password field to accept this. Character limit needs to be like 48. Or 32, I guess, because it's always going to be a 32-bit string. Alright, so. And actually, just for safety, I'm going to go ahead and make it 64. If someone else wants to be that secure, they can. Alright, character limit 64, password field. Okay, I'm going to go ahead. I need to connect to the server. Well, which I believe it's already running. But here, I'm going to sign up. So we're going to create a new one called Md5. A password of test. Password of test. Oh yeah, that's not even going to work. Sorry, guys. The password needs to be what my Md5 encryption is. So I'm going to paste that. Md5 paste. So that should be test for the user. And then here we're going to have age, we'll say 20, and email, we don't care. Alright, so I say join. It's not doing anything. Ah, dang it. Why not? Why is it not doing anything? It should say like sign up complete or something. The join button is attached to the network manager. Why isn't this working? Let's see. Let's see, when do I connect to the server? Sign up complete. If username signup.text equals or password sign.password verification. Check if password and password verify match. Yada yada. Processing request. What gives? Literally like 0 feedback. What if I log in? Wait, what? Now
it says sign up completed. Dude, what the hell? Ah, right. Login successful. I changed that on the server. Right. Okay. Hold on. I need to go back. I need to sign up here. Oh, okay. The sign up page is incorrect. I'm no longer... What are my request codes for the sign up here? No, it should be returning 0. What the hell? So, let's see here. There's literally nothing on this join button. Where is my join button? I'm saying sign up complete. Alright, click sign up. Oh wait, no, hold on. If you make it this far, process the request. So what the hell? It's like that button's just not being responsive. Weird. Let's go ahead and try this again. Let's go ahead and sign up. We're going to do Md5 6 password test. Okay, click sign up. Okay, weird. Now it's working all of a sudden. So let's do Md5 7. Password is that. 24. Okay, there we go. Clicked sign up, but this is happening. What the fuck? Hold on. Yeah, we need to get a log here. Field is blank. It doesn't like our passwords. Debug.log. Passwords don't match. I don't want to have to do the encryption process for this, otherwise it would be a pain in the dick. Unexpected symbol return. Alright, let's see here. So we are going to sign up. Md5. And M. Alright, click sign up. So the passwords don't match. So I think it's wrong. Why would it say that? This is the password that I'm printing in. It definitely matches. 098F6B yada yada. Alright, one second. I'm going to make it so that this password field is no longer a password field. It's an alphanumeric. Okay, so we're going to sign up. We're going to say Md5. Password is this. O98F6 yada yada, and this guy. Oh, wait a minute. I think I know. Password verify is alphanumeric. And it's set to 30. That's why. Jesus. That has to be 64. Now it should work. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and do the sign up again. Md5. The password is that. Password is that. 24. M. We're going to join. Okay, we joined. So if I go to the web server now, I should be able to see Md5 as a user. And let's go ahead and try logging in with him now on our real client. Alright, so we are done with this project. This is the personal one. Don't save anything. Alright, let's go ahead and go to CodeGay here, go to MMO, and go to players. And you'll see here, Md5 was added with he was added with his MD5 encryption on top of Decrypt. So that's like insanely secure. Let's go ahead and log in with him now. So I should be able to say here, run the server. Oh, that was cool. I could keep the client running and it would still connect. Very cool. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and say client, we're going to say MD5, and we're going to pass in test, which we know the hash for. And bam, it worked. So login request completed with 0. Good deal. So what's going to happen now going forward is when you register, it will register using an Md5 hash, and then it will extra secure it with a Decrypt hash, and that will allow us to log in. So it says processing request with Md5 hash, login successful, and it says here message from client. Alright, so username received was Md5, password received was the Md5 hash. It uploads that to Decrypt, so this is what the hash looks like, and then on Decrypt, the way it works is now it looks like this, which is just inhashable. Very, very cool. So we are done with that. Let me see here. Trying to see. What was going? This is obviously, I think this is going to change again. Because the way at the end goal is I'm going to install vBulletin software, and we're actually going to log in with your vBulletin username and password. But for now, this is super secure and super good. The last thing I want to do is clean up all of this shit. So process login is fine. It's responsible for handling the login, and it has a simple callback for onComplete, which is great. The network manager needs work. I don't like it being cluttered with everything. Ideally, I need to figure out what's important. I want it to have all its handlers, and then those handlers are going to basically send out messages. Or maybe I could even have the class of Authenticate User handle its incoming messages. So I'll experiment with that and see how that goes, but I need to clean up all of this. I don't like this login process. It's fine, actually. I'll break it out maybe more. But really the client is my big concern right now. So if you look at the client here, this is like too much. There's no reason for this client class to already be 150 lines. So I want to break it out into smaller chunks. And yeah, so login's good. The next thing we want to do is be able to start building our player class. And when we connect, we need to create that player on the server, and then we'll create him on the client as well. So, alright guys, I'm heading out. So have fun. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys later.